What's up?
Oh, I'm just compiling all the top sports scores, news, and odds so I can make the very best bets.
Me too. BetOnline.ag.
Join today and receive your 50% welcome bonus at betonline.ag.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at. You know, I realized I think this point is so well taken. Yeah, we're waiting for championships, and it's all about championships. But you know, getting through the regular season, and I'll even say it, once we won the championship with the big three of 07-08, once we won that championship, every year was still enjoyable, but the regular season was kind of like you know, just kind of boring. You know, it did not captivate you. You were just waiting until we could get back to the postseason and see if we could put another one under our belts. And that's when you got excited. But I'll tell you, with these teams, when they're developing, I mean, I remember going to that Super Bowl Sunday game with my son when, you know, Terry hits this big shot, you know, and Horford hits this big shot, and they wind up beating the Trailblazers in a major comeback, and they were super down at the half. Those kinds of games, when you kind of feel like your team is stacked and loaded, they're enjoyable, I guess. You know what I mean? But they don't, first off, they don't happen that often because usually you're staking big leads. Like the regular season's a grind. And so this whole gut and grit and watching them overachieve, that's what made, you know, the last 3 years before this one with Brad so much fun to watch. That's what made Isaiah Thomas so exciting. That's what made us love those guys. Wouldn't it be great if one of those types of teams won the championship, you know, from out of nowhere, especially after Kyrie goes to Brooklyn and everybody's got a chip on their shoulder, or they just come and just lay the smack down and they're all in their early 20s? That'd be so exciting. That would be so unprecedented. Is it likely to happen? No, but that's what's going to captivate you all next season. If they are at all on a roll and they're playing well and you can see the possibility of it, it's going to captivate you all year. And it makes watching 82 games a lot more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, I think the Celtics, the punk rock Celtics were, and the hospital Celtics were some of the most enjoyable Celtics teams ever. But if we didn't have one of the absolute worst Celtics seasons ever this past season, are we even having the conversation? Like, this was so bad on so many different levels that it's like, I don't know that I really can distinguish 87 from, well, I can distinguish 87 from 86, but can I distinguish 91 from 92? Can I distinguish, 02 from, 04 or 05? I mean, not really. The thrill of it is how far can you get? Can you get close? Can we get more out of this team than we expected? Can we go far? I mean, that's to me, that's why you watch. To see that is,
see, I feel like that. I feel like this team is already there anyway.
You don't build a roster for pluck and grit. You build a roster to win and be successful.
But isn't that what it takes to win?
Is pointless.
Isn't that what it takes to win?
You need talent to win. No, you need talent.
No, not just talent, because we had talent this year and we didn't win.
Okay, how much pluck and talent was enjoyable when the Celtics were getting swept by the Cavs 2 years ago? I mean, it didn't matter. Like, that's the lesson, right? For all of us.
We didn't have Tatum yet. We didn't have all the assets
got our asses
yet.
Kicked.
Yeah, but
that's
that was
not fun.
But that was just part of getting there. That team was so young.
It wasn't that young.
Yeah,
it wasn't that young.
It was. We didn't even have
Crowder
Tatum yet.
Avery Bradley, Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford. I mean, those are 4 veteran players right there. Yes, you had Smart. Yes, you had Brown. But, I mean, Kelly Olynyk, who's still on his rookie contract. But, I mean, those guys weren't like this year's team. And it was enjoyable. It was great. They're punk rock, and they got further than we thought. And it was great. But you got to the end, and we got steamrolled by a not so great, an okay but not so great Cleveland Cavaliers team. And it's like, that's not fun.
I don't know. That one series may not have been fun, but that whole year was fun. Sure. And then the next year was weird because of the Kyrie trade, because I didn't even really like him when we traded for him to begin with. And he came from Cleveland. I didn't. I didn't. It just
I
wasn't
know, I
really
know,
into it. I
I
just
know.
wasn't into it.
You're, yeah. I mean, look, I understand people watch sports for different reasons and all, and I appreciate that. But the Celtics tradition is not about almost getting there and about Atlantic Division championships, right? That's not what the reason why the Celtics are special is because they go to the top. They don't take second
So
best.
is the only way
Now,
to get there is to go and buy your championship? Just because that's how we did it most in the most recent, past?
I think you have to look at the way the game is played. Like how are teams being put together in 2019? How many
So
teams
other than Kevin
are
Durant, how
growing
did
from?
the Warriors build? Other than Kevin Durant, and they'd already won a
Yeah, but
championship by the time he came
okay,
there, and that was a total fluke, right? But they could have still been the same team they are now without Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Over the last several years. I mean, he definitely hedged the bet and he definitely improved that squad. But did they grow by trading away players for the top talent, or did they grow to a championship contender by being smart and utilizing their draft picks?
right. Well, I would say this about the Golden State comparison. I mean, Golden State is a once in a lifetime situation, right? I mean, I think we have to agree to that. They went out and they found three guys in one draft, two of them who were all NBA guys who were core pieces towards building, a championship contender. And then, of course, we have this crazy thing that goes on with the cap expansion. And I'm not even talking about Durant, but their ability to keep paying players, even if it wasn't Durant and they re-signed Harrison Barnes, for example. I mean, they would have been good. But how many other times has that happened in the last 30, 40 years? I mean, it's in the salary cap era, they're the outlier, right? Everybody else has done it differently. Whether it's the Spurs, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Celtics, the great teams
The
of the
Heat.
salary
You
cap
didn't
era.
say the Heat.
The Heat, sure, yeah. I mean, it's been
Rigged.
pulling. It's, yeah, sure.
Rigged.
If you want to call it that, yeah, it's rigged.